Welcome everybody to this webinar about the service operations journey, what it takes to get started. My name is Sasha and I'm the marketing manager here at the Cloud People. And for those of you who do not know us, then the Cloud People, we are a pure play ServiceNow leader partner with the highest partner status. And every day, my colleagues across Europe and Americas are helping our customers leverage the value from the ServiceNow platform by using our smart resourcing concept and our unique offerings. So if you would like to get to know us even more, don't hesitate to reach out. I have some really amazing and talented colleagues. And speaking about that, I have you, Apostal, today, who's going to make this presentation about service operations. Maybe you could introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Sasha. I hope my voice comes through fine. Can you hear me well?
I can.
Perfect. Yes. So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to this service operations webinar series. This is the second webinar of the series that we are planning to perform around service operations. My name is Apostle Meko. I'm a trusted advisor and an ITOM and CMDB community lead here at the Cloud People. So, as I mentioned, this is the second series. And I would like to do a brief recap on the previous episode and the topics that we actually demonstrated on a live ServiceNow environment on the previous episode before we proceed with the topics of the today's webinar. So on the previous episode, we presented the service operations workspace from an IT operator's agent lenses. We visualized a service degradation on an application level, showcasing how do you minimize the risk of missing any critical alerts on an application level. Then we proceeded to demonstrate and navigate a service degradation through a service map and an advanced service map, presenting that greater visibility and visualizing the impact of a service degradation on a business overall level. Then we demonstrated the proactive nature of the solution through AIOps and health log analytics and how that impacts the state and mood of your operations in advance, notifying your organizations that something is about to happen before that had any chance to evolve into a major incident or to affect your end users. Then we went into review an anomaly alert in detail and the level of information that and data received from the health log analytics, including the surrounding logs being sliced and diced to be humanly readable. Then we, from within an anomaly alert, were able to showcase how do you remediate the errors, resolving the problems before it had a chance to impact the business via simple automation playbooks, both from within the alerts and incidents. Also showcased how do you improve your mean time to respond, but also the mean time to resolve any issues. And last but not least, we went into demonstrating how do you utilize Now Assist to build very basic workflows and automations. So that was pretty much what we did and showcased into the previous webinar. Now, before I continue with these sessions, Sasha, would you like to send out a poll about our audience and get to know them a little bit better?
Yes, I will. But also, we had a question from Carsten if this recording was available, and it is. And I will share this with you in the chat, and I will also send out an email afterwards, so you have the recording of this webinar that Apostol is referring to. But I will send a poll now. I hope you will answer it.
Perfect. And if I may mention on that, Sasha, that it's important that our audience get to understand the solution. And then on this webinar, we're going to be presenting the journey. How do you get into that desired state of operation? So the today's journey is a continuation of the previous webinar on how do we get to that first phase, to that first level of efficient operations. So,
and just before you start, Apostol, if you have any questions out there, please throw them in the chat or in the question tab, and I'll make sure that Apostol gets them in order to answer. The scene is yours.
Perfect. Yeah, this is the first slide that we created around service operations a couple of years ago. Before even ServiceNow had come out officially with the service operations plate, to be honest. Then a few months after we had created this idea about how we can combine ITOM and ITSM together, we went into a 2-day workshop with a potential customer who themselves had a ServiceNow consultancy department, and we demonstrated service operations from an MSP perspective. Anyways, long story short, we ended up creating the roadmap, did the advisory, and delivered the blueprint for the implementation of this customer. And that was such a great boost in our confidence around our implementation approach. But that lived quite short, to be honest, because when we did the same thing, when we proceeded to do the same thing for multiple other customers, we realized that, well, there is an issue. Most of these customers couldn't conceptualize the level and the depth of the blueprints that we were presenting or the approach that we were showing, but also they didn't have the maturity or that depth of understanding of the ServiceNow solution. So what we discovered was a little bit interesting. We realized that there is a catch, and many non-native IT organizations, and even more specifically non-ISP organizations, hesitating taking this the leap of implementing service operations. They saw these capabilities, the capabilities that we demonstrated on the previous webinar, as I mentioned them earlier, as futuristic, far off possibilities, almost like a science fiction scenario. In some cases, they didn't have the confidence, neither could believe their organization could possibly reach that level of operations. Even when the operational benefits were clear, management often feared the unknown, uncertainties about what lies ahead on the journey, and more specifically, concerns about the cost and capital expenditures required for such an implementation. And how couldn't they be hesitant? Many of these customers that I mentioned that we interacted were stuck into never-ending projects with large consultancy teams, yet unable to achieve the operational excellence they were seeking. And of course, on the other hand, and I mean, ITOM is a beast in itself, like merging it with ITSM, and on top of it, adding all these advanced functionalities sounded like climbing Everest barefoot. So for that reason, we realized that these concerns needed to be addressed head on. And after engaging with over dozens of customers, we came up with the Gen AI-powered service operations offering, an approach that it is designed to eliminate all these barriers around uncertainties, unknowns, and it's worth mentioning that this offering is officially recognized and approved by ServiceNow. So you will be able to find this offering on the ServiceNow store. Now, what makes our approach and offering different is transparency. From start to finish, we prioritize a clear, tailored roadmap to your organization's unique needs, ensuring you know exactly what to expect throughout the 4 different phases of the implementation journey. And even most importantly, and I would like to emphasize this, even most importantly, we decided that we are willing to share the implementation risk with our customers because we believe in the success of this approach just as much, and we are confident enough in our ability to deliver it. Thus, we decided to have skin in the game, as one of my favorite authors like to say. Probably most of you know the equivalent book from Nicholas Nassim Taleb. So now I hope that got your attention. I hope you're going to stay till the end to get to know how we split this risk of implementation with our customers. Before proceeding into today's topic, Sasha, can we please have another poll?
Sure. It looks like most people are using ITSM, CSM, and CMDB, but no one has said ITOM. Yes, one has said ITOM.
Quite typical. All right, so moving into today's episode, we will discuss the implementation journey, and in essence, we will review our service operations offering. What is the building block approach that we are referring to, and how to reach to that decisions of which specific building blocks do you have to deploy throughout the journey to reach this level of operations. We're going to review a high-level design with all the building blocks involved. Where do we start the implementation journey based on the type of the customer and maturity level? And then we're going to see and discuss an example of how do we tailor the roadmap to the unique business needs of a customer, and how do we structure the phases and split the risk of the implementation. Then at the end of this webinar, of this session, we're going to make the case of the strategic value of service operations in relation to Gen AI and advanced automation. Also, we're going to share some hints of our next episode and webinar series. So, the building blocks and value accelerators. What are the building blocks and value accelerators? The building blocks refers to the fundamental elements and components that needs to be established and orchestrated to achieve efficient service delivery. Now, the building blocks include the functionality, includes the process, includes the tools and resources that contributes to streamline and effectively deliver the AI-powered service operations offering that we have in place. Now, from a TCP value accelerators perspective, The value accelerators are tools and processes that we have established and enables your organization to achieve the desired state of operations faster for longer. The value accelerators are utilized not only for the project quality, but also for the overall health monitoring of the operations with a set of unique dashboards. The building blocks methodology is a unique implementation methodology designed to enable service operations with a strategic approach and a tailored to your unique business goals. Now, we're going to proceed and review a high-level design of the service operations offering. And I know this is a bit of a complex and quite a busy slide. So here we see the high-level design of our offering, and what it contains is all the fundamental elements and building blocks involved into delivering service operations officially. That doesn't mean that all of the building blocks must necessarily be deployed, but these are the building blocks and the value accelerators. You see them on the right side that are involved throughout the implementation and delivery of service operations. So what we aim to illustrate here from the bottom up is the importance of the foundational data. The data must be up to a certain level of quality and maturity in order to achieve full potential of service operations possibilities. Then in the middle section, you would see the ITOM building blocks, which helps you achieve that level of data quality and maturity. Building the relationships in a logical way between the data is something essential and a possibility that the ITOM building blocks provide for you. From that point, the advanced functionalities are coming into play. Functionalities like AIOps, machine learning, which utilizes the data in rest, data that resides into your CMDB, and the data in transit, in Praxis data that are flowing from your event management and peripheral event sources into your solution, and inject these data into the rest of the processes, including your ITSM and ITIL processes. And that's where the interconnectivity between the ITOM module and the ITSM modules occur. And from there, we streamline and automate the incident problem change management process to the extent that it is possible. All these functionalities are consolidated and visualized into the service operations workspace, where all the different technical teams and management interact together in a common workspace to address and solve issues faster. Now, everyone experiences the service operations workspace from their own specific lenses based on their unique role in the organization. What I want to highlight from this high-level design is the interconnectivity of the building blocks and modules. It is that interconnectivity that must be orchestrated to allow you to harvest the full potential of the solution. So let's dig a little bit deeper, and let's take, for example, one of the building blocks. So if we zoom in and we use discovery as an example, we can see what is included into this building block from our offering perspective. So, as we mentioned on the previous slides, through the building blocks approach, we aim to connect the processes to the functionality based on the best practices and consolidate all this information from a technical perspective into an implementation blueprint, and from an estimations and deliverable perspective on the scoping of the implementation document. You will see this documentation in the middle of the screen. Now, there are many things to consider in a discovery deployment, but some of the most important things like starter stories, process guide, workshop requirements and prerequisites. And of course, you always have to take into the account best practices such as mid-server host selection, mid-server application management, user credential, so on and so forth. Those are important things that you need to consider before deploying your, let's say, discovery, right? Now, by pre-packaging the implementation steps and structuring them in this manner, we know how to do it, when to do it, and whoever does it from our side follows the standard methodology of implementing it based to the standards that we have produced after interacting and delivering these solutions to more than 15 customers. Now, this way we're able to reach and complete the deployment of the building block with confidence. And you can think of this, if I have to make an analogy over here, you can think of this as a well-orchestrated or a well-choreographed dancing routine. Now, it is rare that we deliver this functionality in isolation, like without understanding the overarching goal of our customers and without strategically planning for the orchestration of this block with other functionalities. This structure that we have built over here with all the steps and detailed information, it allows us to utilize the implementation blueprints that we have predefined, the scoping, which, as I mentioned, includes the deliverables and the resourcing. It allows us to create greater packages, which we call it Service Ops Phase 1. And the Service Ops Phase 1, it bundles a group of building blocks. Think of it like Service Graph Connector, Service Mapping, Discovery, CSDM, crawling and walking phase. And that bundled package, we can then offer it into a fixed price, giving the right circumstances. So allow me to repeat that because I got distracted a moment from the chat. So let me repeat that for a moment. What we provide through this approach over here is a detailed step-by-step implementation roadmap for each functionality, including the deliverables and the outcomes, and then we commit to deliver it on a fixed price. I mean, isn't that great?
We have a question from one of our audience who write, hello, should an organization complete all the CSDM stages to be effective in ITOM?
No, that's not absolutely necessary. It depends on your overarching goal. What are you trying to achieve? And then we take a specific approach. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
So just to sum it up a little bit, what we have done over here is that everything is kind of pre-packaged. We have standardized the implementation approach. We have built these necessary customer workshop requirements and prerequisites. Functionality is being described into the depths of the details, to the dot into the implementation blueprints. There is a process guide on which we distribute to our customers, and the starter stories are already there, so our teams can immediately initiate and start implementing the solution. But where do we start? Like, where do we start our journey? This is depending on the initiative and the customer maturity. There are 3 different stages that we can begin. And also depending on the customer, let's say, type. So there are new ServiceNow customers, and to be honest, this is like a blank white canvas for us, which allows our expert communities to execute and deliver a greenfield implementation from the bottom up. Then we have the existing ITSM customers, which represent the majority of our customer base, as we also saw here from the polls. And then we have a third category, which is a very interesting one, which we have identified through interacting with so many customers. The ITSM customers which are experimenting with ITOM, running and utilizing different areas of the platform, unable to realize full potentials and stuck in never-ending projects with multiple POCs on different areas. And you can imagine that these kind of situations is a bit of a nightmare, but fortunately enough, we have an approach for this type of customers as well. For today, we're going to focus on the existing ITSM customers, because this is, as I mentioned, the majority of our customers base, which we usually embark into the service operations journey with. These already existing ITSM customers that are seeking advisory on how to reach that efficient, automated end-to-end service delivery state.
We have actually made a poll here, Apostel, to hear how our audience perceive their maturity stage. I don't know if we should make that.
Up to you, Sasha.
Then 2 seconds. And I can see that most of you describe the maturity of being existing ITSM customer. So it's good that this is the journey you will present.
Yes. So as I said, the majority of the customers that we embark into the service operations journey happens to be already existing ITSM customers. And depending on their maturity level and data quality, we propose different starting points, as I mentioned. So we always begin the journey with an assessment phase to clearly define the roadmap, to properly define the roadmap, I must say. So once that assessment phase is completed, then more than usually, and this is like a typical roadmap, this is a typical way of us unfolding the different building blocks. More than usually, we're going to begin with the implementation of the ITOM related building blocks, since this is, of course, an already ITSM customer, while at the same time, we are enhancing and harmonizing the existing ITSM functionalities to align with the newly deployed functionalities and, in essence, align with the overall business goals. So let's zoom in and review the first point over here. And the journey begins with an assessment phase and the data health evaluation. So we always suggest to begin with this phase because it allows us to clearly identify and define the scope and build a tailored roadmap based on your unique business challenges, policies, and requirements. Now, the assessment phase is a typical value accelerator, as we call it from the TCP side. And it is due to this phase that we are able to make reliable projections instead of weather forecasting about the roadmap and the journey, the implementation journey of service operations. And because of these reliable projections, then we are able to split the implementation risk with our customer. So a typical assessment phase is going to be split in two different parts, and it's worth mentioning here that this is a week-long process, usually, depending, of course, on the customer size. I mean, if it is a big enterprise, big organization, then it might be a 2 weeks long process. Usually it is a long week process, and it contains, as I mentioned, two different parts. Part one of the assessment phase, the discovery process of the assessment, is focusing on the path to identifying that North Star you are aiming for. Uncover the pain points and the challenges facing in the day-to-day operations. Review the processes, the security policies, and the data quality. In essence, it allows us to get to know your organization and application landscape better. So collecting the necessary required information to build the initial roadmap tailored to your needs.
Now you say about the, sorry for interrupting here, but now you talk about identify the pain points. Could you describe what would be a typical pain point for the customers you have worked with?
Yeah, in many cases, I would say a very common pain point is the overwhelmed, let's say, operation centers or operation teams, Sasha, where customers are receiving tons and tons of events and alerts, and their operation teams are operating in a constant reactive mode, right? And their overviews, their monitoring overviews and workspaces are flooded with hundreds, if not thousands, of events, which in itself leads to critical events being ignored or being hidden into next pages of their overview, meaning that it leads to frustrated customers because, well, the teams are trying to put fires left and right, put down fires left and right, and they cannot possibly manage the load of the today's demanding capacities in operations. So that's kind of a typical issue that we see more than often. And yeah, and there are many more, including silo teams, and so on and so forth. Was anything specific you had in mind, Sasha?
No, I just thank you for your answer there.
Yeah, and something that probably it's worth mentioning is that yeah, when it comes into today's fluid working environments and infrastructure environments like a DevOps environments, more than often, some of the customers, I would say, are being notified by their own end users or customers when it comes to service degradation or an application performance degradation. So that's also a very typical pain point. So anyways, the second part, going back to the assessment phase, the second part of the assessment focuses on providing an executive summary report with all the findings and recommendations based on the challenges that has been discovered through the discovery phase. So in addition, this is where we build the initial tailored to your needs roadmap. And after that, we proceed with a draft of an initial phase one SOW with full transparency and in detail information. Now, due to the assessment phase, we are able to determine the maturity level of our customers and the complexity level and degree of the implementation and the journey that we are going to be embarking. So through the assessment phase and based on the assessment phase, we are able to make recommendations based on our customers' unique situations. On the other hand, this allows us also to determine the building blocks required for this specific customer to reach that desired state of operations or the North Star that we are aiming for, as we mentioned. So let's see, how do we structure a specific, let's say, example of an SOW. First step is the implementation scope and the solution description, where we in detail describe the in-scope points and a complete description of the functionality that will be delivered, including the outcomes from each deployment of each building block. Second, assumptions and out of scope. Clearly, the assumption from both sides, from customer and our side, and out of the scope topics are clearly defined and listed into this phase 1 SOW. So there are no misunderstandings in what is going to be deployed and what is going to be delivered in phase 1 of this project. Then we have a clear delivery timeline and also include roles and responsibilities, a proper transparent timeline with a concrete governance model and clear escalation procedure points. So we eliminate the risk of the project and in essence of the implementation of the functionalities. That governance model, we tend to split it into 3 different layers: operational, tactical, and strategic layer, where we create different forums with different escalation points on ensuring that everything is clearly communicated at the right time, so we can avoid deviating from our timelines. And last but not least, the delivery estimates and pricing, which, if you remember from the previous slides, these are topics that we have already into our building blocks, which we can take and bundle them together into this phase 1 example. So the estimates contains all the provisions needed to deliver the scope of the project, as is going to be mentioning in an SOW. Also, pricing is bundled to the deliverables, and an agreed payment structure, of course, is included into this approach.
Before we continue, or you continue, maybe we should hear if there are any questions from our audience.
Sure.
No questions. I hope you can still hear us out there. Great. Just continue, Apostel.
All right. Thank you, Sasha. Now, through the assessment, through the phases of the, through all these phases, all the 4 different phases, as we mentioned, we are aiming for a specific level of maturity to be achieved. So this is a maturity curve. This is one of the artifacts actually generated from Gartner. So this is not an original from my side or our side. And what this is showing, it's really around the operations overall process and operations maturity, whether you are a centralized, decentralized paradigm, starting from reactive, meaning that we are maybe monitoring our infrastructure with traditional threshold-based monitoring tools, as we mentioned, but on a business service or an application layer, actually our end users or our customers are actually notifying us about performance degradations on an application layer or service issues. So, and especially, as I mentioned, into these high fluid cloud-based and DevOps environments. That's probably the most fundamental reactive state of an operations that I can think of, to be honest. Then, as we get more progressive, we are getting ahead of the curve, looking at anomalies, looking to introduce functionalities like health log analytics, and surfacing up patterns utilizing the machine learning capabilities of the solution to identify proactively issues before those have a chance to affect are critical to the business infrastructure or services. Then the next step, or phase 3, is to connect the workers, the users, with the digital tools and capabilities to first visualize and notify the responsible teams about the deviations, and second, to give them the possibilities and information, regardless of their experience level, to act and interact with these tools to a degree that helps them perform their tasks and prevent any major outages and issues or major incidents. Now, on the next level, or on the phase 4, as we call it, the focus and aim is to enable the advanced level of automation, or the hyper automation as ServiceNow calls it, and enable the auto remediate capabilities of the solution for self-healing, and also allowing the solution to learn by itself, so it knows how you usually handle such cases and situations. Then next time is more accurate, providing the path to remediation faster. And in essence, that's what service operations is all about. Service operations is all about connecting data, connecting tools, and connecting users in a seamless way, allowing your teams to perform effective, cost-efficient operations, realizing full potential of the ServiceNow platform. That's what service operations is all about. Now, how do we deliver? Well, we deliver our projects via the expert communities. Here at TCP, we have a few expert communities. Such a community is the Enterprise IT Operations Management and CMDB community, which I am leading, but we also have an ITSM community, we have a CSM community, we have an IRM community, and we have a user experience community, UI UX community. So through these communities and our expert resources, we are able to deliver this kind of projects. So we have the solution architects, which are specialized in a specific building block, as we call it, a specific domain. And these are the leaders. So if we go into a delivery model, these users are mainly leading the workshops, the meetings, and the discovery process of the assessment phase, creating the solutions and models around the specific building blocks, such as discovery, as we saw, service mapping, so on and so forth. And then we have the technical consultants or developers, which are responsible for executing the technical developments, requirements, action points, coordinating the action points, and supporting the team with input and feedback on the documentation and solution performance. Now, these resources are very vital for our successful and cost-effective project management due to our nearshore and onshore possibilities. A typical smart resourcing task force is going to be looking like that. And each solution architect leads his area of expertise and delivers it with a technical consultant together. Now, keep in mind, this is us presenting you with the way of how we address and tackle this kind of projects. And the amount of resource from your side, or the amount of resource that we deploy, well, that it shouldn't bother you, because as I mentioned, we deliver these packages given the circumstances in fixed price. So we are that confident on delivering service operations that we can do it in a fixed price as well. So this is just for your information on how do we tackle the individual building blocks and how do we implement them so they are well orchestrated to reach that level of efficiency. And we do it through the smart resourcing and task forces from our expert communities in TCP. Now, the strategic value of service operations in relation to Gen AI. Before we proceed with this topic, Sasha, is there any questions? Is there anything we should address? Any polling?
No, but I think yes, we have a question. We have a question here. What are, in your opinion, the real life toughest challenge to reach an automated item stage? People, technology, or cost?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I would say none. Yeah, I would say none. And the most important part is data. You need the data structure in order to be able to utilize automation. And besides the data, you need that level of interconnectivity to be able to take advantage of these automations. Think of it from this perspective. Your automations or workflows are as good as your next integration gap or where your functionality or your stream of the process stops. That's how far you can reach with your automation. So if your data structure is not in place and if your interconnectivity is not in place, then it is a big challenge of reaching this level of automation. Then it's the rest, I would say. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Apostle. I think before we continue, I will just make the last poll here. I hope you will answer. And this is just if you would like to know more about this approach.
Again, keep in mind that this is us just scratching the surface of the offering. Like it's, yeah, very, very high level. If you would like to see details, if you would like to see some success stories on how we have embarked into these journeys and the outcomes and results, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you for your answer or your answers in this. I will give the stage to you again, Apostle.
Yes, thank you, Sasha. So the strategic value of service operations in relation to Gen AI, and I think now we're going to be also addressing that question, that the last question that we addressed as well. So we're just gonna address it from a different angle this time, and let's start with the Gen AI and the LLMs, the large language models like Gen AI, for examples. Alone, these models do not deliver the full set of capabilities required for an enterprise-grade AI solution. These are powerful machine learning models, as we established so far, that has revolutionized the way that we are interacting with technology. But LLMs, large language models, Gen AI, provides part of the solution. The actual value of the Gen AI comes from a suite of technology solutions. When these technologies and functionalities come together, allow you to build and create advanced enterprise real AI solutions that can produce and deliver unmatched business value. And how does that look from this technology pyramid? How does it look in relation to our service operations offering and the service operations play in general? So here, starting from the bottom, you can see that we have the underlying infrastructure and foundation data, connectivity and computing tools, for example, on-prem cloud components, edge hosts, 5G network, data lakes. This is the foundational technology that we need to consolidate, build the relationship and dependencies, and correlate the data. And then the next step, we proceed with the digital management, digital planning and management tools. This system-level digitization of planning and managing processes, such as the IT operations and service management, you can think of it as HR, you can think of it as CMDB. In essence, this technology functionality is covering the part that you see on the right, which is the Now platform. And the way that you should read this pyramid, from the left side, you see that the path to the implementation starts from the bottom up, and the path to exponential impact in the organization starts when you have reached that level of maturity and implementation to start taking advantage of these kind of functionalities. So on the third space on the left, from the implementation path perspective, we see the digital worker productivity tools at the operator or process level. Think of it like the service operations workspace. Think of it as the RPA, robotic process automation. Think of it as playbooks or triggers for enabling the agentic AI or digital workers to execute autonomously. And then on the right side, next to it, you see the automation and the disruption of the process and life cycles, such as the ITIL processes, etc., which is being utilized after the implementation for that impact or the exponential impact that we described. Well, up to this point, what I have described to you is nothing new. We have been having these technologies for the last, I would say, probably 7 years. So up to this point, up to this level, none of these technologies or functionalities or possibilities is new. We have been having these functionalities. What it is new to this point is the machine intelligence level. And this machine intelligence is the ability to optimize, augment, or automate the decision-making process. So far we have been having automations, we have been having RPAs, but we never had the possibility of automating the decision-making process on how to apply these kind of functionalities in our real production or infrastructures, right? So this is what has come now with Gen AI. This is what Gen AI, from an IT perspective and from my perspective, is going to be utilized to provide this exponential impact and provide the real enterprise-grade AI solution. So, and this is the time that I would like to use now to kind of let you know about our next episode, which basically we're going to try to demonstrate what we've been preaching over here, what we've been talking right now over here. We're going to try to demonstrate how Gen AI is changing the way that we interact with technology from a DevOps perspective, where the environments are very fluid, changing very rapidly. We will show how can we utilize Gen AI to read code, identify issues on the code, and present to known code readers on a management or a NOC operators level, you know, the issues that it has basically found, right? And on top of it, we would try to build an integration with a communication, internal communication tool to dispatch this information, but also to give the possibility to provide solution through a natural language interactions to remediate the issue. So this is what we're going to be trying to focus on the next webinar series. And by saying that, I am done. Thank you very much for listening to me for an hour, and I hope you find this interesting enough.